The house loomed, large and imposing. It sat on the hill like a watchful gargoyle. Rain poured down, washing away the last traces of sunshine. The Blackwood family huddled together under a single black umbrella. They had just come from the funeral. Their uncle, a man they barely knew, had left them everything.
Come on, it's not that bad.
John, the father, clutched the iron gate. It creaked open with a groan. His wife, Mary, shivered. Their teenage children, Lily and Sam, exchanged nervous glances. The house felt cold, unwelcoming. John put on a brave face.
It's creepy.
They stepped inside, each footstep echoing in the cavernous hall. The air inside was heavy with the scent of decay. Dust motes danced in the faint light that filtered through grimy windows. Cobwebs clung to every corner. It was as if time itself had stopped within these walls. Lily ran her fingers over a dusty portrait. The eyes of the woman in the painting seemed to follow her. A shiver ran down her spine.
Can we leave now?
We just got here, Sam. Let's give it a chance. It's our home now.
But even as he spoke, a sense of unease settled over him. He couldn't shake off the feeling that they were not alone. The first few days were the hardest. Every creak of the floorboard, every rustle of leaves outside the window sent shivers down their spines. Lily began to hear whispers at night, soft murmurs just on the edge of hearing. She would wake up with a start, her heart pounding in her chest.
Mom, Dad, did you hear that?
John and Mary would exchange worried glances. They told her it was just the house settling. An old house like this was bound to make some noises, but secretly they were starting to hear things too. Sam retreated into himself. He would spend hours in his room, headphones on, blasting music to drown out the silence. But even the music couldn't block out the feeling that he was being watched. One evening, while exploring the attic, Sam stumbled upon a dusty old diary. It belonged to his great-uncle. The handwriting was spidery and faded, the words filled with a strange desperation. He read about his uncle's fear of death, his obsession with finding a way to cheat it.
Death is inevitable. But what if there was a way to transcend?
Sam slammed the diary shut, his heart pounding in his chest. What had his uncle been involved in? He didn't want to find out. The family gathered in the living room. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering shadows on their faces. They had tried to make the house their own. They had cleaned and dusted and filled it with their belongings. But the darkness remained, seeping into every nook and cranny.
I found something.
He told them about the diary, about their uncle's obsession with immortality. Mary shivered.
This is getting out of hand. We need to leave.
We can't just leave. This house is all we have.
This house is driving us crazy. I can't take it anymore.
Their argument was interrupted by a sudden crash from upstairs. They froze, their blood turning to ice. The crash was followed by a series of thumps, slow and deliberate, coming down the stairs. Terror filled their eyes. They were no longer alone in the house. Fear fueled their curiosity. They delved deeper into their uncle's life, piecing together fragments of information from old newspaper clippings and town records. They discovered that their uncle had been a renowned scientist, obsessed with pushing the boundaries of life and death. He had conducted strange experiments in the house, experiments rumoured to involve the occult. One article mentioned a missing assistant last seen entering the Blackwood house. The police had investigated, but their uncle had been evasive, claiming ignorance. The case was never solved.
He was trying to cheat death, but what if he succeeded?
The thought hung in the air, heavy and cold. They realized that their uncle's obsession with eternal life had not died with him. It lingered within the walls of the house, a malevolent presence that refused to let go. The hauntings intensified. Doors slammed shut on their own. Objects moved across the room as if guided by unseen hands.
Whispers became voices, chillingly clear, taunting us with our deepest fears.
Lily saw her reflection in the old mirror, her face twisted into a grotesque mockery of her own. She screamed, and the mirror shattered, sending shards of glass flying across the room.
I felt a cold breath on my neck, even when no one was near. I would turn around expecting to see a shadowy figure, but there was nothing there. Only the oppressive silence of the house, broken only by the pounding of my own heart.
John and Mary tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy, but the fear was eating away at them, driving a wedge between them.
We need to get out of here. This house is going to be the death of us.
John knew she was right. They had to escape, but escape from what and how? Panic set in. They packed their bags, throwing clothes and essentials into suitcases with trembling hands. They had to get out, escape the suffocating grip of the house. But as they reached the front door, it wouldn't open. It was as if an invisible force was holding it shut.
Let us out! Let us out!
John shouted, pounding on the door. The house seemed to mock their desperation. The temperature plummeted, sending a wave of icy air over them. The lights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. And then the laughter started. It echoed through the house, cold and cruel, sending shivers down their spines. They were trapped, prisoners in their own home. Just when all hope seemed lost, the lights flickered back on. The door creaked open. Standing on the porch was a man. He was tall and thin, with a kind face and gentle eyes.
Can I help you? He asked, his voice calm and reassuring.
We need to get out of here, he said, his voice hoarse. This house, it's not safe.
The man smiled.
Of course, he said. Come with me.
He led them down the porch steps and into the cool night air. As they walked away from the house, they could feel the tension leaving their bodies. They were free. But as they glanced back at the house, they noticed something strange. The windows were glowing with a faint, ethereal light, and in the window of the attic they could have sworn they saw their uncle's face, a triumphant smile playing on his lips. The man led them to a small cottage nestled in the woods behind the house. He explained that he was the caretaker, that he had been away and only just returned. He offered them food and shelter, a place to rest and recover. The family gratefully accepted. They sat around the fireplace, sipping hot tea and sharing stories. For the first time since they had arrived at the Blackwood estate, they felt safe. As the night wore on, the man excused himself, saying he had some chores to attend to. John, Mary, Lily and Sam were left alone, the fire crackling merrily in the hearth.
I can't believe we're safe, Mary whispered, a relieved smile on her face. We're finally free.
John reached for her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers. We are, he agreed, a sense of peace settling over him.
But as he looked into the fire, he noticed something strange. The flames were dancing in a peculiar way, twisting and contorting into familiar shapes. And then he saw it. A face, his uncle's face. It was staring back at him, a malevolent grin spreading across its lips.
What is it, John? Mary asked, her brow furrowed with concern.
John opened his mouth to speak, but the words caught in his throat. He couldn't tear his eyes away from the fire. The flames seemed to be drawing him in, consuming him. He blinked, and the face was gone. John shook his head, trying to clear his thoughts. He must have been imagining things. He glanced around the room, but something was wrong. Lily and Sam were frozen, their faces contorted in expressions of pure terror. Mary was staring at him, her eyes wide with fear.
John, she whispered, her voice trembling. Don't you see?
John frowned. See what? He asked.
Mary pointed a trembling finger at the window. John turned to look. His blood ran cold. They weren't in the cottage anymore. They were back in the Blackwood house. Standing outside the window, his face illuminated by an eerie green light, was the caretaker. He was smiling, but it wasn't a kind smile anymore. It was cold and cruel, filled with a chilling sense of triumph. They had never escaped at all. The caretaker's voice echoed through their minds, filled with a chilling finality.
"This is your home now," he whispered. "Forever."
The family was trapped, bound to the house for all eternity, their laughter echoing through the empty halls, a chilling reminder of their fate. They were the family that never left.